Alright, welcome to slope formula, and I just want to put this out there right away that you can always find slope the way that we did before with rise over run, but that's not always the easiest, especially if you don't already have a graph, because if you don't have a graph, then you have to graph your line and then figure out 2 points that you want to use and all that stuff. So sometimes it's going to be easiest to find the slope a different way. And if you remember from yesterday, we talked about the rate of change, and that's where we came up with rise over run. But more importantly, the change in dependent variable over the change in the independent variable. So remember that the change in our dependent variable when we talk about x and y is y's. So really this is the change in y values over the change in x values. Alright, so what does that mean for us? That means if we have any 2 points, and remember that points come in this form, xy and xy. Now, we have to differentiate these 2 points. So I'm going to call this first point x1, y1, and I'm going to call this point x2, y2. So we can derive this formula called the slope formula by taking the difference in the two y values. So remember, to get slope, when you know a line is straight, you can take 2 points and find the slope that way. Now we can derive this formula. So what would be the change in my y values? Well, that would be y2 minus y1. And the change in my x values would be x2 minus x1. And you always have to go in the same order, okay? So I could do x1 minus x2 and y1 minus y2. Doesn't matter, we can go either way, but as long as we have the difference of the y values and the x values, we can find the slope. So this is your slope formula. For 8th graders, that'll be on the MCA formula sheet. And we can use this then to solve problems like this problem. So let's say they give us 2 points and they say that they fall on a straight line. So what is our slope going to be? We can figure this out without graphing them. The only thing we are responsible for is naming one of the points x1, y1, and the other one x2, y2. Some people just like to go right in order. So this is my x1, this is my y1, here is my x2, here is my y2. And we can put it into our formula. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's see what we get. So we just plug in what we've got. So y2 is 2 minus y1, which is negative 2, all over x2, which is negative 1, minus x1, which is 4. And here we go. So 2 minus negative 2, we get our plus plus situation. And then we've got negative 1 minus 4 on the bottom. So the slope of this line is negative 4/5. Now if we graphed those 2 points and formed a line with them, we would find out that those are that would get the same slope that way if we did the rise over run. Okay? So that's how we can use the formula there. You can even do it with a graph or a table. Okay? Now here for the graph, it's going to be nice, because if I use rise over run, and you can do that, that's the easiest way when you have a graph. I can go, okay, I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's my run. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. So we should get 3/4. Alright, but let's use the 2 points that they gave us and see what we get here. So if we use the formula, let's say this is y2, or sorry, we'll go x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? And we will get, so we're going to do y2, which is 2, minus y1, which is negative 1, and then x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is see that whether you do it rise over run or you do it as using the slope formula, then you're going to find it either way, and it'll come out the same. All right. With this table here, remember you get to choose any 2 points. So if we're looking for the slope here, they're telling us it's linear. You can check to see that it is. Any 2 points, you can take these two. All right. Let's say this is your, so 2, 0 would be 1 point, and 2, 1 would be the other point. And we can just do x2, sorry, I always start with 2 for some reason. x1, y1, x2, y2. Alright, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we got 1 minus 0, which is 1, and 2 minus 2, which is 0. However, we run into a problem here. You cannot divide by 0. So if you were to graph this, you would find out this is undefined, meaning this is a vertical line. All right. And lastly, sorry I'm a little bit over on my time here, but I want to get this one in too. Finding the slope of this line. Notice it's in standard form. That means it's going to be a straight line. Here's where we're going to use a concept that we learned before. It's very easy to figure out your intercepts when it's in standard form. So for instance, if x is 0, this is gone because 6 times 0 would be here, and -5 times this would have to be -6. Alright, to make that work. And then now if y is 0, this is now gone because -5 times 0 is 0. Now 6 times 5 would make this possible. So if it's in a table, it's real easy. Let's say this is my second point, and this is my first. Now I can just do, okay, I know it's my y over x, so I can just say, okay, 0 minus -6 over 5 minus 0. And I will get 0 plus 6 over that, and we get 6/5 for a slope. Okay. So if you're given an equation, you can find 2 points very easily, or you can graph it to find the slope that way. But this is how we use the slope formula. Again, I'm sorry I went a little bit over, but that's all I've got for you today.